Welcome to Inspiring Business with your host, Mark Bullock, who is the co-founder of videosocials.net and of videointerviewpodcast.com. In every episode, Mark interviews business and organizational thought leaders who share their stories of how they inspire others by making a difference. You can find this show on videosocials.net and YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and almost any podcast platform of your choosing.
Welcome, and today I am super excited to have my friend and client, Elsa Smith. Elsa empowers women through estate planning. She is the head of the law offices of Elsa W. Smith in Annapolis, Maryland. And Elsa, it is delightful to have you. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I've so been looking forward to this interview, Mark, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Well, I've been looking forward to it. As a matter of fact, there was a lot of people on my list over the years that I have met, that I've worked with, that make a difference in the world, and which is why I started the podcast. You were literally in the top of the list of people that I wanted to invite, and this is the first chance that we've had that we've actually been able to schedule to do it. So I thank you, because I know your crazy busy schedule. You've got your own podcast, you've got your own live streams, and I'm just thrilled to have you. But for the benefit of our audience here, you empower women through estate planning. That encapsulates a huge business that you've created and a huge difference that you make for others. But I always like to start with, what's your story? How did your estate planning firm come into play, and what in your life drove you to be the difference that you make for those that you work with?
Oh, good. I hope you have a big cup of tea, because it's going to be a while.
A really big one.
Enjoy, or a mug of tea.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, let me say that I've been an attorney for over 20, now almost like 23 years now. I was originally licensed in Florida. And I practiced in a number of different areas. By far, the most significant amount of time was spent doing criminal defense and criminal appeals. And not to go deep into the weeds of everything that I've done, but my journey, as the journey of a lot of people who achieve a certain level of success, was certainly not a straight line. My journey was one of finding out what I didn't want to do. So it's kind of pushing those things to the side, going, nope, that's not a good fit with who I am, and a lot of self-discovery. I relocated from Florida to Maryland over 15 years ago, when I met my now husband of 15 years. And that process, people think, oh, well, you just picked up and you moved. Like, no, I was extricating myself from a community in which I was really embedded in the legal community in South Florida, very involved in bar associations and so forth. So that meant starting new, starting fresh, recreating myself in an area where I really didn't have a network. So it was a challenge. It was a challenge for me to come into the Maryland, DC area and do that. I worked doing e-discovery work for many prestigious law firms in Washington, DC, before I started my law firm in 2012. And when I did, I went back to what I knew, which was criminal defense. So a lot of the focus was on that. And I was very blessed to meet a lot of wonderful people who provided insight, mentors, and provided clients, quite frankly, because a lot of, my work was through referrals and being appointed on cases. But there came a time, approximately about I'd say 4 or so years ago, that doing criminal defense wasn't a good fit for me anymore, because of the severity of uh, cases that I was managing. It was starting to take a toll on me. And I've shared this with a number of people. And I really did some soul searching. I wanted to, I've always had a heart for service. And I'm like, well, how can I continue to serve, but yet be true to myself and to what I believe I was called to do? So I started looking into different practice areas. Um, Estate planning was one of those, and that came up in conversation with a colleague. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So I did what any responsible lawyer does, and getting into a new practice area, you delve in, you take CLEs, and I did a lot of pro bono work. And in Maryland, it was through the Pro Bono Resource Center
Mm-hmm.
of Maryland, and we went to different, underserved communities, a lot of communities of color, and we provided estate planning services to those communities. And when I tell you, Mark, that not only enhanced my skills, it gave me a greater passion for doing what I do. And I want to backtrack for a second, because you asked me like the why.
Right.
When I got married was the first time that I ever had an estate plan. And because I tell people, I didn't come out of the womb with an estate planning portfolio. Okay. So there were a number of years where I was like sadly, the vast majority of Americans who were without an estate plan.
Right.
Nothing. So when I finally got my portfolio, I felt like a grown up, like, wow, things are in writing and in place. And, I remember that feeling, but funny enough, I didn't do anything with it at the time. It took
Mm-hmm.
a number of years later for me to become actually reacquainted with estate planning,
Mm-hmm.
recalling that feeling that I had and wanting to replicate that for other people. Right.
Absolutely.
So having that epiphany, like, oh, wait, I can do this, and I can actually make people's lives better by doing this. So there are a number of people out there that do estate planning, but here's the thing. Um, the estate planning world, the industry, has been for the longest time dominated by white males. And I wanted to occupy a space in this industry so that particularly women, and that's my tagline, empowering women through estate planning, so that other women could see themselves in me. And going one step deeper, women of color to
Mm.
see themselves in me and saying, well, wait a minute, she's making it accessible. She's not talking over my head. That's what I'm trying to do. The two pillars of my practice are education and empowerment, because you cannot tell people, it's like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink or whatever. You need to feed people information. You need to create a safe space for people to ask questions, because we don't know everything, right? And that's really been my mission. Once I discovered, like after like the first client I had that I created an estate plan for, and I saw the transformation. I saw
Mm-hmm.
them come to me during a consultation with 100 different questions, them willing to place their trust in me, something that humbles me to this day, and being open to me guiding them through the process and coming out on the other end with an estate plan that's specifically crafted for them, and then watching this person exhale at the signing ceremony, And I said, "Are you okay?" And the client was like, "Yeah, I just can't believe that, I've got an estate plan now. I am the first person in my family to actually go through this process." And I didn't take that lightly, Mark, because
Mm,
what in that statement, that's a shift that's
right.
taking place in that person's generational line.
Yes.
Right? And that's what I'm trying to do, one person and one family at a time. And that's why the passion that you hear in my voice is what it is, because I see it every single day with every single client.
And the thing that grabs me is two things. One is you transform lives, and it's a transformation that is, it's not just for the individual that or couple that you may be creating a plan for. It is their entire family, and it is all the people around them. And I had mentioned, and I'm not going to go deep into it, but I'm literally in the middle of I'm caregiver for my mom who's in her early 80s, and there was no estate plan. Now, there was retirement accounts, there was, some insurance, some health insurance, there were elements, but those elements are radically insufficient for what we're dealing with now. So I just wanted to bring in, you know, because my next question is, what is one misconception about estate planning that you see? The misconception that she had and I had was that, oh, well, I've got retirement, I've got Social Security, I've got health insurance, I've got a life insurance policy, and that meant that there was a plan. It's not, because it's so woefully insufficient, and now we're trying to apply for Medicaid, and oh my gosh, it's the most absurd thing I've ever experienced, honestly. And we're doing it at a time where it's now critical that it gets done. And if just a little bit of thought, a little bit of planning could have been put into play 30 years ago, 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, could have made a difference. Um, so I'm fully invested in exactly what it is that you do, and that it's, look, we're probably going to outlive our money if we don't have a plan. Doesn't matter almost how much it is, because the dollar's constantly worth less.
Absolutely.
We don't plan for, oh, we're going to need some level of care, maybe for 20 years, maybe for 30 years after we're retired. And anyway, but what do you see as the one misconception, the biggest misconception?
The one that I hear almost every day or every other day is like, I don't have enough to have an estate plan. And people on the street will like, oh, I don't, I'm not, a Rockefeller. I don't have enough for an estate plan. First of all, let me share with you what, I don't know if I'm the author of this statement, but it came to me and I've been saying it for a number of years, is that estate planning is a love letter to your family.
Hmm.
Okay? Because you thought enough of them, you thought enough of others to lay out a plan ahead of time when you had clarity of thought, and you weren't guided by guilt or anger or any of those very strong emotions which tend to distort our ability to reason clearly. Um, and the other thing I want to mention is that estate planning, yes, it is important to have a cohesive plan. You're right. There are many people that come to me that may have an insurance policy here and they haven't laid eyes on the policy in probably 15, 20 years, is gathering dust somewhere. and maybe a little savings over here. But estate planning is not just about what happens to your stuff when you die. It's about your quality of life while you're still here, right? And the question I ask people is like, do you value yourself enough to take care of yourself while you're still here? You're still here, and that goes kind of deep, and which I
Mhm.
tend to do with my clients, because a lot of the resistance at the heart of it, I mean, I'm certainly no psychologist, but a lot of the resistance that I see looks like, you don't value yourself enough. And then you can go deeper into why don't you value yourself enough, and go all the way back to childhood
Mhm.
as to why we don't value ourselves enough. And because my practice tries to reach out to women, why don't women value themselves enough
Right.
to do what is necessary to make sure that somebody is in place to speak for them if they become critically ill, to a plan for their children if they do have minor children, to take care of them without the chaos that ensues when there is no plan. You have family members coming out of the woodwork claiming to be best suited to raise these children. The children have never met them. The children don't like them in certain circumstances, right? And they're caught in the middle. I just did a presentation probably a couple weeks ago where the hypothetical was like, Aunt Susie is like coming out of the woodwork saying, "Oh, I'll take the children," and the children hate Aunt Susie because she's nuts, and they don't want anything to do with it, right? But because you didn't have anything in place that opens the door, right, for these sorts of things to happen, after your death. But yeah, I mean, those are the many, there are other misconceptions too, but the bigger ones are that they don't have enough,
Right.
and that they don't need it, for whatever reason.
Well, and I think part of that too might be just flat out the intimidation of this is a complex process, and I'm making decisions that for potentially years from now. What words of encouragement might you offer to somebody who is just intimidated by the whole idea?
First of all, because I hear that a lot too. You don't need to have a PhD in estate planning in order to have an estate plan, or even a will, which is usually like the gateway into estate
Hmm.
planning. You hear people talking about getting a will. You don't need to be an expert. That's why we're here. I'm an estate planning attorney. I've got years, of experience as an attorney. I can guide you through the process. That's what we're there for. And a responsible estate planning attorney is going to be willing and available to answer all of the questions that you have in a safe space for you to do so, because estate planning is very personal. It weaves in, families are different. And I have seen all different types of, family dynamics, in my office. And it's through that initial process of finding out, well, why are you here? What is your family dynamic? Um, and what are the issues, that you start to have the deeper conversations of, well, I have an adult child that, I'm estranged from, or, my children don't talk to each other, or I'm having, issues, and I foresee that I'm probably going to end up in a divorce, and I don't know what to do. All of that. It's ugly. It's uncomfortable, but you need to be able to allow for that openness to happen in order to really provide an estate plan that meets that person's needs.
So it's not just financial planning. It's not just legal documents like a will or a power of attorney or things like that. Those are all important and, in fact, critical. But it is the holistic view of this is this person's life and how it intersects with the rest of their family. for the positive and the negatives, for those that they get along with and those that they don't, for empowering, if you will, the individual to make choices while they can make those choices with clarity of mind, with a guide of somebody who has done this for many people in the past, that can foresee all the things that you might not realize or think about in advance of that. And with that, I want to bring up, you've been creating content around this. You've been talking about this. You've been writing about this. You've been doing live streams. You've been interviewing financial people and other attorneys, et cetera, with your podcast. Where can people get just almost anything that they want to know about estate planning in Maryland from you? Because you're out there and you've made all of it available for free, and that's of service in and of itself.
Thank you, Mark. Well, you're right. I have our YouTube channel and all of my social media, wherever I am, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and so forth. It's all at Elsa W. Smith Law. But where you'll find the library of videos of all the video content that I've created is on YouTube. And you're right. For the last year and a half, I've hosted a program. It's called Women Winning Wednesdays. It's a live stream program. And funny enough, we're announcing that we're going on hiatus, a brief hiatus, to reimagine how we can bring people even greater content. A hiatus is actually a good thing, a time to reflect. Because things are changing so much. People are consuming content in different ways, and you need to be able to be nimble to order to meet those needs more effectively. But I'm very proud of the work that my team and I have done in creating this live stream. And let me say one thing, kind of a personal thing. I was working with a business coach at the time when I started the live show. I didn't think I'd make it past my first episode. I didn't think that I had what it takes to interview people and to get on live each week and talk about a given subject. But and if my husband's watching this, which he will be, he will be seeing this, he'll smiling like, "Of course you'll do a great job," is what he'll always tell me. But it's because, to me, when I am on a live show, it feels like I'm actually talking to a person right next to me, and I want to connect. It's from that innate desire that I have to serve, to connect, and to let people know that they're seen and they're valued, and that's why the show is so important. But like you said, I produce all kinds of content. I write as well, and that is certainly going to continue. But the bulk of everything that you'll want to find is on YouTube or on my website at elsawsmithlaw.com.
Awesome. And along those lines, you've created different types of content. So, a podcast like this is kind of what in the marketing world we would call a long form content. And you've done a lot of 2 or 3 minute videos, and much of that I think was facilitated through our service, which is videosocials.net. And for those that aren't familiar with or what it is, how do you get out there? How do you create? How do you talk to this inanimate object called a camera, for a couple of minutes and get it out on YouTube and have it actually produce anything for you, and et cetera? Well, you do it through practice, and we created a process by which we get together 5 to 10 professionals from all different industries and all different backgrounds, and we take turns doing our talks, having a conversation with an audience rather than an inanimate object called a camera. We act as our own surrogates audience as we're presenting, and you're one of many people that are involved with that, and that's how we actually got introduced. And what a contribution that you've made even to that service. But what has that been like for you, and has that helped you to blossom, as it were, into this, online superstar that you've become?
Well, thank you. Video socials is a major part of where I am now as a thought leader, as a personality on social media. I've been with video socials now. I've been a client for over 2 years, I guess, or about 2 years. It's been instrumental because of the people that are involved, not only you and your team, but the other clients as well. They're like-minded professionals who come into a space which you have created, a safe space, in order to experiment. And you have people from all different disciplines. There are therapists, attorneys, financial advisors, insurance, folks. Um, and it's neat to see the chemistry um, between us all. And I love having my regular group, and the people in my group that I meet with weekly. Many of us have become friends, and we have been. It's safe to say this: we have been through some collectively and individually. We've been through some really trying times over the last 2 years, and it has been, and video socials has been glue that has kept us together. In some cases, have kept our sanity from going nuts with all that swirling about. But having that place to come to every, I'm starting to get emotional about it because I'm having flashbacks of not only myself, but of different people in my group and things that we've all been through. But the fact that we were there, and just being there a lot of times is enough to be that life raft, that you need on a day that you're really not feeling it, when you're not at 100%. You don't even know what to say before you get on camera. But you've got a community of people that are there rooting you on, saying, do it anyway. And if you're afraid, do it afraid. We've got you. There's no judgment. If anything, we're going to uplift you. I mean, how can you not want to be in that environment week after week? And video socials is not just about what you get, but it's also about what you bring too.
Absolutely.
I'd like to think that through the comments that I've shared with people, constructive comments, that it's helped make them better, because they certainly have made me better. They've made me more confident and willing to try new things. So for that and so many other reasons, video socials has just been an integral part of my success. And I'm thankful for it. So thank you.
And thank you, because it is video socials. It is literally a community, and there's groups or smaller communities within the greater community. And one of the stories that I think we both get a little bit misty about was on January 6th, during the insurrection. We had a meeting, and we were both there along with the other group members, and we vented and we cried and we recorded our videos, and that really taught me, it's like something, it felt like the world was coming apart, and yet we all chose to express ourselves, to get done what needed to get done, which was to produce the educational, informational, and valuable content that our audiences needed.
And Mark, we showed up.
We showed up.
We showed up, which is like the first thing, right?
Yeah. So that for me, that was one of the most pivotal moments of the last 3.5 years of Video Socials. And so I don't want this to turn this into a Video Socials commercial, but if you have an interest in being a part of that kind of community and creating video content, just go to videosocials.net and click on the guest tab. There's no cost. There's no obligation. We'd love to meet you. We'd love to have you as a guest. So with that, we could literally go on all day. The estate planning is such an immense topic, but I think people are starting to see with you that they're not just hiring an attorney to create documents.
Right.
They're engaging with somebody that actually engages with them as a holistic human being, that's part of a family, that's part of a community, and is trying to give that gift that you said, that love letter, to those that they love and that they want to, as well as to themselves. Right. Because that's the other, and I think that was really, really critical, and something I hadn't really even considered for myself all that much. It's like, why wouldn't we want to, if for nothing else, not to be a burden? Right. It's a gift to ourselves, but it's a gift of to our family of not burdening them with decisions, with finances, with things that just puts nothing but stress and potential misery on others, just because we didn't want to take a little bit of time to figure out what we wanted for ourselves and our families.
That's it.
Right. Ahead of time. So the question is already answered, but why is it so important for women to craft estate plans, specifically for women to do it?
Oh my goodness. There's so many reasons, Mark. We are caregivers to adult parents. We are moms, whether it be through birth or adoption. We are wealth producers. We are business owners, and we are, heads of households. So we're responsible for so much as women, no matter what roles we have. Whether you're a stay-at-home soccer mom, which is a huge responsibility for raising children, or whether you're in corporate America, or whether you're doing both. It's a lot that we have to juggle. So because of that, and because so many people depend on us, we need to have our foundation solid. We need to have the important documents crafted. That's why. And
it's not just for women, right? I mean, I'm not in Maryland, so I can't use you, but I would love to. But at the same token, if you're in Maryland and you're a guy, is it okay to call you?
Absolutely. And the funny thing is that when I'm working with couples, it's usually the wife that schedules with me first, and then the husband, once he sees that okay, the water is fine, he can come in, he starts, and he agrees to have his estate plan done too. So women are leading the charge, but absolutely, I'm in the business of not only changing individuals' lives for the better, but families, one family at a time.
Absolutely. I am. One other thing I almost left off. You had somebody that you wanted to give a shout out to that you thought might be Michelle Gordon. In fact, that you thought might be a great guest for Inspiring Business. What can you tell me about her?
Michelle Gordon, she's the founder of Investably LLC. She's a financial planner, and she specializes in helping high impact driven women to build wealth. And, just from that mission alone, you can see why she and I have such a synergy. Right. But that is her mission. She is also a woman of color in a space that desperately needs more diversity and more representation. And she's doing a phenomenal job with the work. She hosts classes and so forth to really educate. She understands that education is key to reaching people. It's not just, give me your money and I'll handle it for you, but let me educate you and make you more empowered regarding your financial planning and your wealth, and transferring that wealth to the next generation. And she does that very well. So Michelle Gordon with Investably.
Awesome. And so in closing, I just wanted to bring up, I know that you're going to take a short hiatus on your podcast, but and that you do those as far as a live stream. But I think that one of the things that might be missed is that they're also all available to be watched after the fact. We're not doing this live. We are recording this. But just as your recordings of your live streams and this recording, they'll all be available on your website and on YouTube, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And all free.
And absolutely all free. It is always a pleasure. Every time that I'm on camera with you, or I'm watching you on camera, or you're giving me feedback from when I've been on camera. I just appreciate you so much, not just because you make such a difference for others, but just who you are as somebody that is caring and loving and an attorney. And and it's just such a wonderful mix. Thank you for being such a powerful influencer with Video Socials. Thank you for being such a powerful influencer online for not only your potential clients, because you can't serve the whole world. You do have licensing within the state of Maryland, but whether you're in Maryland or not, the information that you have made available online is a gift. And thank you for giving that gift to the world. Thank you so much, Elsa.
Thank you for sharing your platform with me, Mark, and for the privilege of being on your show. Indeed, it was a pleasure for me as well.
Well, the privilege and pleasure is mine as well. So thanks all. Stay tuned, folks. Learn how to subscribe and do realize that we do this every week. We've got somebody else like Elsa that is making a difference in the world and inspiring others. So I encourage you to subscribe, and thank you again, Elsa. Take care, everybody.
You've been listening to Inspiring Business with your host, Mark Bullock. Your positive comments, likes, and most importantly, your sharing of this show with others is greatly appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe to the Inspiring Business Podcast on whatever platform you prefer. You can catch prior episodes on videosocials.net and on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and all the major podcast platforms.